update us on the latest number in terms of how many entities have been blacklisted, how many entities have been debarred now from dealing with enrollment and so on and so forth on the basis of complaints that you've received?
Now, you see, so far as the enrollment is concerned, we have a very, very zero tolerance policy. Now, when people go for Aadhaar enrollment, we on our own, as a customer feedback, we call people, who have gone to our Aadhaar center, and if they have, either they got for making a new Aadhaar or for updating their information. And if they ask, if they tell us that, look, they went there and then they did not get a fair treatment, from the operator, or maybe, he charged some money. In such cases, even without his complaint, we take action. And so far, during the last 7 years, we have taken action against 49,000 operators. We have blacklisted them. So this is the kind of action we take on proactively, from our side.
But what about the concern that it is in the interest of the enrollment agent to minimize rejections, to not reject people? So what is happening in terms of the checks and balances at the enrollment stage itself?
Now, you see, the enrollment agencies, if you see total number of Aadhaar enrollment operators who have been certified, there are around more than 6 lakhs. Out of that, 49,000 people, who were indulging in certain malpractices, they have been blacklisted and debarred, right? Now, to reduce the error rate, we have a very, very strict quality monitoring process inside the UIDAI.
So what is the error rate?
Yeah, so error rate, I'll tell you that whenever any enrollment is done, every enrollment packet that comes to us, every packet is demographically verified by our back-end operator manually, saying that all the data and everything is entered. If the data is found with error, then we have a certain tolerance, maybe, those details I can give you later, but then our error rate, we have specified, this much error rate we will tolerate so far as that operator is concerned. But if that error is repeated, then, we blacklist them. And that is why today, if you compare that where we were 7 years back when we started this program, today if anyone goes for Aadhaar enrollment or when he goes for Aadhaar updation, we don't get many complaints saying that, his name is not spelled correctly, or, his, date of birth is not correct, is not captured correctly. So the errors have, reduced drastically so far as the Aadhaar enrollment is concerned.
Okay. What is the current authentication failure rate, sir? See,
the authentication failure rate, if you see the total, we have largely 3 kinds of agencies. Now, so far the telecom, like, Vodafone, Airtel, and, the Idea, these are the 4 big the telecom companies. Their success rate is 97%. And then there is a second class of users where the banks are also authenticating because, they have to verify each and every account because of the amendment in PMLA rules. So there the success rate is somewhere around 94%. And so far as the government agencies, like, the PDS, Manrega, and, that kind of, areas where these authentications are being used, there the success rate is around 88%. Now the question arises that why there is a difference, why it is 97% and why at some places it is 93% and why it is 88%, right, 88%. Now you see, we also try to understand the whole psychology. Here, when you go for a SIM card, you are interested in getting a SIM card, and then the SIM card agent who wants to sell, he's also interested that, the authentication should work. So he will take your fingerprint correctly, and so that, your authentication is successful. However, what we have seen is, particularly in the public delivery program, where, the PDS benefits are being given through the Aadhaar authentication or some other benefits. There we must realize that there were several studies during the last few decades where the amount of leakage through the ghost and other identities used to be to the extent of maybe somewhere between 20 to 50%, right? 20 to 50% was the leakage, because they, it is upsetting the vested interest, right? We must realize. And therefore, initially the success rate will be impacted, but over the period of time, the success rate will improve. However, we are saying that this 12% whose authentication failure has happened,
yes,
we are saying that those people should not be denied if they are genuine persons.
But yet you haven't been able to control that. But is there a cumulative number that you can share with us? You talked about leakages. We've heard the government give us a number for DBT and so on and so forth as well. Can you give us a cumulative number on account of the leakage that's been cut because of the Aadhaar usage?
See, the leakage, just last week, this DBT, Direct Benefit Transfer, which works under the Cabinet Secretariat and which collects all the data, they have put out this data that 83,000 crores of rupees have been saved because of usage of Aadhaar and through the DBT during the last 3.5 years. So this is the figure. In fact, I would also like to point out to you, there was an independent study by the World Bank that was called a Digital Dividend Report 2016, where it said that if Aadhaar is used across all Government of India direct subsidy programs, it has potential to save every year $11 billion US. And this is consistent with the earlier reports where it was held that the extent of leakage in all those public programs were to the extent in the range from 20% to around 50%. So if you use Aadhaar, then a large part of such leakage which occurs because of identity fraud, that can be curtailed, and thereby the savings will happen. One more thing, that in past, prior to Aadhaar, the several people say that earlier also we were weeding out ration card, and we were through the other means. Why can't we do the same thing? Why we have to use Aadhaar? The whole problem is that whenever you weed out any fakes and duplicates, as soon as you finish, as soon as you think that you have finished eliminating the duplicate and fakes, the next batch of fake and duplicate will re-enter into the system. But
there are reports of duplicate Aadhaar cards as well. What is the status on that?
No, you see, I must say here that it is highly improbable that any one person will be able to get 2 Aadhaar cards.
Improbable or impossible?
I see in the world of technology, because I also have a technology background, so I never say anything is impossible. Right?
Yes, you've been making that argument in court as well.
Right, so I would never say that everything.
But you have got reports of people having 2 Aadhaar IDs?
I mean, it's a very, very isolated cases, and as I mentioned, let me mention to you that in the beginning of the program, in 2011, where we used to give a biometric exceptions for those people who did not have fingerprints and who could not open eyes. Now, some of the operators who were later on blacklisted and prosecuted, these operators, even if the persons had biometrics, they just thought that these persons does not have a biometric. And without biometric, the enrollment was done. And in this manner, it was possible for him to generate multiple Aadhaars for the same person under the different names. But we detected all such cases. We cancelled those Aadhaar numbers and we took action against them. And then, we made this grant of biometric exception, much more strict. And we have a very close supervision over this. Okay. So that now it is. That's why I use the word. It is highly improbable that a person can get 2 Aadhaar cards. In fact, even in the Supreme Court or in other places, what people are not able to produce that look, you have so many thousands of people with more than 1 Aadhaar card. Okay. What you hear in the media is that it's a completely Photoshop. Somebody can make an entirely look like Aadhaar card, and having the same photograph, same name, but having 2 Aadhaar numbers, right? So if that is the case, but then that's not an Aadhaar card. It is a completely different system.